At the end of September this year, the U.S. Department of Defense announced that it would provide Taiwan with $560 million in military aid. In early October, the United States approved another arms sales contract worth up to $1.988 billion, which included advanced surface-to-air missile systems and radar systems and other high-end equipment. Now, some of the first batch of ordered weapons have been shipped to Taiwan one after another. At the same time, China also issued the decision on the implementation of countermeasures against U.S. military enterprises in October 2024. This decision clearly sanctioned 3 U.S. military enterprises, namely Edge Autonomy Operations, Huntington Ingalls Industries, and drone manufacturing giant Skydio, all of which were involved in selling arms to Taiwan. Affected by this, Skydio, one of the largest drone manufacturers in the United States, is now facing a supply chain crisis and may even be forced to close down. So the question is, why did China impose sanctions on these U.S. military enterprises? And what challenges and far-reaching impacts will these sanctioned companies face? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now let's get into today's topic. Everyone knows that since the full outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian conflict in 2022, the United States and some Western allies have been providing weapons assistance to Ukraine. The United States has long regarded Russia as an important global strategic rival and has always been looking for ways to curb Russia's development. The crisis in Ukraine has given the United States a rare opportunity. With its support for Ukraine, the United States has enhanced its military strength and made Ukraine more confident in facing Russia. But do you know? Behind the U.S. support for Ukraine, there is actually a deeper economic motivation, which is to promote the development of the domestic military industry. According to my investigation, in 2022, the total amount of weapons and military equipment sold by U.S. defense contractors to foreign governments reached $153.7 billion, an increase of 48.6% over the previous year. The main reason for this surge is the Ukrainian crisis, especially the U.S. support for Ukraine, which has led to a sharp increase in arms transfers and defense trade. In order to help Ukraine fight Russia, the United States directly provided more than $50 billion in military aid. What's more exaggerated is that by 2023, the U.S. military sales have reached $238 billion, an increase of 16% over the previous year. Judging from these data, as the world's largest military power, the economic benefits obtained by the United States through arms sales are amazing. But it is worth noting that regarding the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, Western politicians led by the United States have repeatedly accused China of providing so-called military assistance to Russia, but they have never been able to produce any conclusive evidence. Despite the lack of substantial evidence, the United States still took this opportunity to suppress Chinese companies. In recent years, many Chinese companies have been sanctioned by the U.S. government for the unfounded charge of collusion with Russia. In the face of these accusations and sanctions, China did not take drastic countermeasures, but communicated with Western countries and made it clear that it did not provide any assistance to Russia. However, surprisingly, just last month, China imposed a series of sanctions on U.S. military-industrial enterprises, causing these enterprises to face the risk of closure. So, what is going on and what kind of countermeasures has China taken? According to my investigation, all this is actually closely related to Taiwan. In recent years, the United States has been arguing with China on the Taiwan Strait issue and has frequently made new breakthroughs. In 2024, the Biden administration announced the 16th arms sale to Taiwan, setting a new record for the single-term U.S. government's arms sales to Taiwan. At the end of September this year, the United States announced that it would provide $560 million in military support to Taiwan. Then, in October, the United States signed a military sales contract with Taiwan for nearly $2 billion. Moreover, Some weapons ordered in September have been shipped to Taiwan one after another. As we all know, Taiwan has always been a sensitive and tense issue in China-US relations. The West hopes to strengthen its relationship with Taiwan by continuously supporting Taiwan, while China has always insisted that Taiwan is its territory. Faced with the United States' continued sale of weapons to Taiwan, Beijing has also decided to take countermeasures and impose sanctions on U.S. military-industrial enterprises. In October 2024, China issued the decision on taking countermeasures against U.S. military enterprises and senior managers, announcing sanctions on 3 U.S. military enterprises, including Edge Autonomy Operations, Huntington Ingalls Industries, and Skydio, and freezing all the assets of these companies in China. The most noteworthy thing is that Skydio, as the largest drone manufacturer in the United States, is also a supplier to the Ukrainian military and is also the target of China's key sanctions. According to relevant information, China explicitly prohibits domestic companies from providing any key components to Skydio. As far as I know, Skydio's main business is to focus on selling products to the government and the military. The company has sold more than 1,000 drones to Ukraine for intelligence gathering and reconnaissance purposes. Skydio said that its latest Model X-10 is the first U.S. drone to pass Ukraine's electronic warfare test, which means that they are difficult to harass on the complex Russian-Ukrainian battlefield, and Ukraine has requested to purchase thousands of them. But now, due to China's sanctions, the U.S. drone company Skydio is in a supply chain crisis. It is understood that the company's only battery supplier is a company located in China, and Beijing's sanctions prohibit individuals in China from conducting transactions, cooperation, and other activities with it, so the company can no longer obtain batteries from China through open channels. This means that if the U.S. military enterprise cannot find an alternative supplier before the inventory is consumed, it will not be able to complete the orders placed by the U.S. military and the Ukrainian army. Considering that the company has sent more than 1,000 drones for intelligence gathering and reconnaissance to Ukraine, and there are thousands of orders on the production line, the impact of this ban on the company can be imagined. Now, Skydio's leaders have sought help from the Biden administration and held talks with senior officials at the White House. Because this military enterprise is related to Ukraine's military supply, U.S. officials have to pay attention to this issue. Although U.S. officials have contacted Asian allies to discuss how to help Skydio, China's dominance in the global lithium battery component field is obvious from the current technological situation. More than 80% of the world's lithium battery shipments come from China, which means that in the short term, it is almost impossible for Skydio to find an alternative supplier. This also reveals a contradiction. Although the U.S. government has been advocating the so-called de-risking policy against China, the United States still has to rely on China for key technologies and components. Even if new battery suppliers are identified now, these alternative manufacturers will not start mass production until March next year, and whether they can meet the needs of drones in extreme environments is still unknown. In addition, the price of batteries provided by new suppliers is also likely to be incomparable to that provided by China. After all, the price of Skydio's drones is several times that of similar drones made in China, and may even be as high as 10 times. In my opinion, Skydio's experience is just the beginning. Those American companies included in China's sanctions list are likely to face similar difficulties. In this way, the United States is bound to decline in the short term in terms of economic gains from military weapons sales. It is worth noting that although Skydio has suffered a severe blow from China, U.S. officials have claimed that China sanctioned its company because it was afraid of its competitiveness. Then some media pointed out that the U.S. sanctions on DJI, the world's largest civilian drone company, seemed to be because it could not compete with Chinese companies. According to the survey, although Skydio is the largest drone company in the United States, its global market share is only 5% to 6%. China's DJI drones have a global market share of more than 70% and even 77% of the consumer drone market. Especially in the US market, DJI drones have a share of about 85%. Fearing that DJI drones will threaten the US market in the future, It has always been the focus of sanctions. In fact, at the same time that China announced sanctions on the U.S. military industry, the U.S. Congress also sent a signal that it was considering legislation to ban Americans from using drones manufactured by DJI. But China does not seem to be worried about these threats, but continues to promote sanctions. As early as 2016, the United States began to impose sanctions on DJI. In the following years, the United States included DJI on the sanctions list and prohibited federal agencies from purchasing its products. Even in July this year, the United States passed the so-called Countering China's DJI Drone Act, requiring DJI to be included in the restricted list of the Federal Communications Commission of the United States and prohibiting its future products from operating in the U.S. market. However, these sanctions by the United States have not produced the expected results because they have become inseparable from DJI's drones. Data shows that DJI's market share in U.S. law enforcement agencies is as high as 90%, and its market share in the field of emergency rescue is as high as 92%. In addition, about 80% of the drones used by American farmers are produced by DJI. The reason is simple. These drones not only have precise flight control capabilities, but are also equipped with advanced sensors and equipment to perform complex tasks such as sowing, fertilizing, and pest and disease monitoring. For American farmers, traditional spraying of pesticides, fertilization, and watering are not only time-consuming and labor-intensive, but also heavy. However, with DJI drones, these tedious tasks have become much easier. Therefore, this is also the reason why the United States has been sanctioning DJI, but it is helpless. To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.